Hello, this is Celia, the author of this story. First of all, thank you all for watching. As the story comes to an end, it is time to talk about things behind the scenes.
It would be boring if I was the only one talking here.
Let's bring more people here to make it more interesting.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Now I can easily tell what kind of person you are.
Can we get started yet?
Not yet, we are still missing someone.
Who? The inn owner.
Of course not. It is him.
Hello everyone.
Starting with the full plot. In the past, the Fairsen family had been the executioner of the church. They secretly communicated with the witches captured by the church, and made records of their magic and spells. The magic which enables people to hear the desire of others, and the magic which enables people to trade with a demon were two of those magics recorded.
Strange to call a demonic magic, the magic of omnipotence and omniscience, and to say that it enables people to communicate with gods.
Sophie explained that before. Demons deceive human by proclaiming themselves gods. And human tend to believe gods. Let me explain this further. In general, demons are allowed to lie, so they can lie about their identity. However, they cannot lie when they are negotiating and making a contract, unless that demon has the power of lies or distortion. Notice that not revealing the truth does not equal to lying. The demon pretended to be God and showed itself in front of mortals. Then human mistook the demon for a god. They called the magic of the demon as the magic of omnipotence and omniscience. At the same time, the demon did not deny that. Then, present time. Alice was born in 1972. Verone was born in 1978. Abel was born in 1981. Mrs. Enos died in 1982. Mr. Enos died in 1992. Since Abel was small, the Enos family has known that Abel was gifted. He could hear voice of the dead, and see friends that other people could not see. The Enos family seldom talked about Abel's gift, as they did not want Abel to be bullied, be mocked at, or be taken advantage of. Alice, Verone, and Abel used to go to the same primary school and secondary school in the town. Verone has been famous since primary school, so Alice has heard of him. Later, as Alice had received a scholarship when she was in primary school, Verone has also heard of her as well. When Alice graduated, Abel and Verone were still studying in primary school. At that time, Verone helped other students with their study as a volunteer in a school study support group. Although Abel had been doing well in school, Abel joined the study support group to improve himself, and also to wait for Alice, who would come to pick him up after school. In the study support group, he met Verone. When Alice picked Abel up, she met Verone. This is how the three of them met each other. They became very good friends. One day, Verone introduced his friends to his parents. Mrs. Fairsen was kind. After acknowledging the situation of the Enos siblings, she felt sorry for them and asked Albert to help the siblings. Being a man who loved his wife a lot, Albert quickly promised to do so.
You can say Mrs. Fairsen sponsored us. When Dad passed away, it was Mrs. Fairsen who calmed us down and helped holding a funeral. At that time, I knew that I owed the Fairsen family a lot. However, I could never imagine that I have to pay back in this way.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You don't have to redeem sins that you did not commit.
At the beginning of 1998, Mrs. Fairsen was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. Albert was helpless and worried. He tried everything to save his beloved wife. He even tried magic. Although he successfully summoned a demon, he lacked the ability to realize the fact that the demon had come. He then failed to make good use of the magic to save his wife. In the end, Mrs. Fairsen died in the middle of 1998.
It's a shame that good people always die soon.
Before her death, she wanted Albert to take good care of their son Verone. Mrs. Fairsen and Albert were a good couple. Mrs. Fairsen cared a lot about family and her son, but Albert was the opposite.
What a cruel man. He does not even care his own son.
Well, the only one he loves was his wife. A heartless, yet uxorious man. Although Albert was indifferent towards Verone, he worked hard to earn money for Verone out of the promise between Mrs. Fairsen and him. Until something happened. Soon after Mrs. Fairsen's death, Abel told Verone, who was feeling deep sorrow then, that he could communicate with the deceased Mrs. Fairsen. At that time, Abel did not know how to use magic. He simply made use of his gift to send messages for Verone. Mrs. Fairsen told Abel that he must throw away Albert's book and tell him to give up. Abel delivered the exact message to Verone.
Then an idiot told Albert the whole thing.
Correct. Albert wondered if Abel could use that magic to earn a fortune. He invited Abel to the Fairsen mansion. He told Abel that he found an interesting book and invited Abel to try the magic inside the book. Abel succeeded when he used that magic for the first time. He understood what the demon was saying and the true nature of the magic, so he rejected the demon.
Then I warned Mr. Fairsang that the magic was dangerous, and that he needed to pay a very high price for the answer he wanted.
Albert imagined that the magic could bring him wealth. Abel's warning alerted him. He realized that he had misunderstood the effect of the magic. At the same time, he had another idea. He told Abel that he was interested in the magics in that book and he would appreciate it if Abel helped him with researching on the effect of those magics. Abel failed to see through Albert's plan at the beginning. He thought Albert was simply interested in the topic. As requested by Albert, Abel did not tell anyone about his research. They spent about a month or two to find out a way to use and combine magic. Once Albert got what he wanted, he kept Abel in the basement. Albert did a few experiments using Abel to confirm that the ceremony was workable. Once everything was ready, Albert invited people of the town. Albert used contracts to deter his guests. On the other hand, if his guests did not pay, he could use the names signed on the contracts to ask the demon for a solution. Of course, people did not believe in his ceremony at first, until someone in fact was benefited by the revelations. Only after that, people started to see Albert's ceremony as a serious matter. Albert started to earn big money. His personal network became bigger and more stable than ever. Little of those who worked in the mansion realized the truth of the ceremony. Most of them thought that was some kind of tricks Albert made, or some kind of secret habit of the rich. All the servants obeyed Albert and none of them dared to find out the truth. At the same time, Albert lied to Alice and Ferrone until the day Ferrone found Abel. Albert was furious. He sent his man to capture Abel. He also sent his ungrateful son outside of the town and placed him under house arrest.
In an extreme way. If he had not promised my mother, he would have killed me, right?
If he had not promised your mother to maintain a happy life for you, he would not have used the ceremony from the very beginning.
You can't say that. You sound like everything is Ferrone's fault.
Haha. Outside the town, Ferrone was thought to be a student with special needs, but he could not leave his dormitory. Ferrone knew he needed a chance to save Abel, so he behaved well. When he behaved well enough, he was released from his dormitory but was still being spied. Ferrone made good use of this chance to find someone to help, and to go back to his hometown. Then, it comes the start of the main story. Anything you want to ask?
In the end, none of us know a thing about the true nature of that, the magic of omnipotence and omniscience.
That's normal, because there is no record about its true nature from the very beginning. It is the magic of summoning the demon Danjapela. A little lecture about demons. Every demon is born with innate powers. Danjapela controls the power of knowledge and truth. It knows the answer to all kinds of questions in the world. It can see through the nature of matters. By casting this special summon magic, Danjapela will show itself in front of the caster. After the demon's emergence, once the caster has contact with the demon, it will start trading with the caster. Whether a mortal can have contact with demons or not, depends on one's innate ability and later acquired ability. A person with no ability can never have contact with demons, neither can demons affect this person. People with abilities to an extent, like Connor, may not be able to see or touch them directly, but demons can control them. People who are gifted with the strongest power would face what Abel had experienced. Albert did successfully summon a demon, but he did not realize that, after its emergence, the demon would read out the terms of its contract. That was exactly the whispering Connor heard. If one can understand the language of demons, then they can understand those terms.
How the hell can I understand that?
Those who are gifted can. If one does not reject the demon's deal, the demon would take that silence as acceptance, and answer the caster's question.
This is ridiculous. What if I can't understand that?
Well then, congrats on the nice deal you made with the demon.
Shouldn't there be some sort of rules?
You have to accept that. You can never overrule rules of the demons using rules and ideas created by human. The demon would not charge the caster immediately after answering a question. If the caster does not use the magic again even after a long period of time, it will take away what it deserves. If the caster keeps using that magic, then the price will accumulate, until the caster cannot afford more. At that point, the caster has to give up their own soul.
Just like me.
How can you be so calm?
What has Abel become?
The servant of the demon Danjapela. As a mortal, you should know nothing more than this.
What a shame.
Does that mean Abel is enslaved by that foul demon?
No, not at all. Abel is strong enough to disobey to a certain extent. Besides, Danjapela is not busy at all. It has nothing to order Abel to do. To Danjapela, making Abel its servant means more or less the same as keeping a cat.
Would the same happen to me if my soul was taken away?
Of course not. You will be used as coins. Abel is seen as a precious collection by demons due to his strong power. That's why Danjapela wanted to make Abel its servant.
I want to know what happened during the ceremony. Why did Abel interfere in the ceremony, given that he is already a demon servant?
Let me think, how can I put it? There are details you should not know as mortal.
I guess so.
Danjapela and its friends emerged during the ceremony.
The man and woman I saw.
Yes. The whispering Connor heard was the voice of demon, reading the terms of its contract. Noises and hallucinations are caused by contacting with demons directly. On top of that, other magics in the ceremony room enables Connor to hear the wishes of others, and the conversation between demons. Let me put it in this way. During the fourth ceremony, Connor was sitting in the office of the demon, and was about to sign a new contract. If he signed it, he would receive revelation from the demon. However, Abel forced Connor to leave the office and asked Connor to do something for him. That was, to deliver a message for Abel.
Amazing. He could interrupt the negotiation between Connor and the demon.
Because Abel was powerful.
Would Abel be punished afterwards for that?
Danjapela was unhappy about that. But he would just forget it. You see, Abel is a beautiful collection. Who would ever blame a cute kitty?
Right. Do those scratches Abel made in the ceremony room bear magical powers?
Those scratches bear emotions of Abel, but not exactly magic. However, Abel was gifted. His emotions contain power, which would deliver Abel's wishes and thoughts to others through those scratches. Connor's thoughts in the end somehow implied what Abel was thinking as he wrote down the lyrics and names. He wanted to remember persons who meant a lot to him, in order to maintain his sanity and to escape from the room. That's why Connor became sane. As he wrote, "Will you sing for my grave?" he knew that he could never escape. He would die in that concrete room. Ferone could never sing for him, but instead, for his grave. He wished that Ferone could live a good life, so that Ferone could keep singing. That was the biggest wish of Abel. That was the wish for the living. Even though he knew he was going to die, he wished that those who were alive could still live well. Abel delivered his thoughts using those scratches, and his thoughts evoked Connor's desire to live.
I gained the energy to struggle, thanks to Abel.
I am more than happy to help.
Why are you still helping others, even after your death?
I suffered because of this. Now there is a new victim. I want to do something before it is too late.
In the hospital, the demon said that Connor had to give up his soul as a price. Did the demon lie about the contract? Didn't you say that it cannot do that?
It did not lie. It said, "and that shall be his soul." Demons are cautious about wordings. For most of the time, it does not describe facts, but expressing its own opinion. Also, the concept of fairness is an artificial and abstract one. Different people have different understanding towards the same concept. Therefore, even if the demon claims that it is doing things in a fair way, that is not a lie. If you had not argued with the demon, it could have got away with that.
How can that not be lying? That's just evil.
This is the rule of the world. The question whether something is fair or not is different from universal laws of science. There is no certain answer to this question. Therefore, the world cannot and will not determine whether a demon's deal is fair or not.
That so-called rules of the world is a bit too unfair, isn't it? Why won't it protect humans?
So human is the only species in the world. It is humans who always apply their own rules on other things only to their own advantage.
Does the demon know that its ceremony was being used to benefit individuals other than the demon itself?
Yes, but it does not care. When its magic is used in this way, there would be mortals using the magic frequently. That means it receives offerings on a stable basis. Demons are greedy, after all.
Can you talk about the identity of the demon's friends?
Characters from my other story. A good couple. Their entrance was not planned in the beginning. Well, then I thought, it might make the whole thing more interesting. He is Amora, and she is Moeda. Both names are not true names of them, so you cannot use those names to summon them. Amora is a demon who has the power of time. Moeda, his wife, was human before, but now she is a witch. We can talk about them later if we have a chance. Now, the end of their story.
Why did that demon say he owed me one?
You already forgot that.
What?
I am not going to give you the answer. Use your brain.
You have a lot of secrets, don't you?
Still, Mitchell helped a lot.
The magic of omnipotence and omniscience, Michelle's magic, and burning sage. What is the difference between these three?
First, burning sage reduces the barrier between mortals and monsters. By doing so, mortals can easily have contact with ghosts and monsters. Burning sage would not summon a certain monster or spirit. Michelle's magic is the most traditional and orthodox way to summon demons. The magic of omnipotence and omniscience is a special magic only to summon Danjapela. You can say the magic of omnipotence and omniscience is the office number of Danjapela. Michelle's magic has no difference with knocking at the door of a demon's house.
Oh, I see the difference. So, I took away its offering and brought it to the demon's house. Of course that would provoke anger of a demon.
He is so calm after doing such disrespectful behavior.
Sophie, you dislike such behavior that much?
Yes, I would avoid doing such things as much as possible. If I were there, I would more or less guess what Michelle was doing, and leave that place. After all, we were in a special situation, and I did not have a better way to solve that.
So you would stop Michelle if you had better way to solve that, right?
Yes. I do not want to do something disrespectful to spirits and gods. We should respect everything.
To you, what my father has done is truly disrespectful, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. He can only redeem using his own life.
No, I have never thought in that way.
Didn't you said that we would make Farsang get his comeuppance?
I do not like what he has done and I wanted to stop him. That does not mean that I want to be a judge and decide what kind of punishment he should receive. That is not something I should do. Laws and karma would decide what he will face in the future. I do not have the responsibility nor the qualification to decide so.
That is rational for you to think so. I can never think in that way.
I have never experienced what you have been through, Alice, so I cannot ask you to stop hating. But I think revenge would not do you good, nor make your life better.
It's rare to see a heart of gold. Now I see too. I get what you mean. I cannot stop hating Farsang, but I will go on with my life.
Good, and you, Farone?
Me?
At the beginning, you wanted to die at the cemetery, or at the Farsang mansion, didn't you? So that you can take revenge for Abel, and stop hating yourself.
That's why, at that time, you said that to me?
Yes, taking revenge on your own self, and loathing yourself do no good to you. As Sophie said, laws will determine what Farsang should do next.
What a kind girl. Who do you want to know more about?
I think Farsang does not like Farone, is that right? He took care of him only because he promised Mrs. Farsang to do so.
I do not know neither. I don't know him very well. Since I was small, he was either working outside the town, or at home. I seldom spent time with him. I had passed most of my time with my mother. We did not become closer after mother's death.
Still, he did not think, even for a second, before shooting his own son.
But he did not meant to kill any one of you when he shot. He just wanted to shoot the tire in order to stop you.
Until I stabbed him, right?
Yes.
But with a damaged tire, the car would slide. Wouldn't that be more dangerous for us who were inside the car?
Well, you probably would not die in that case, but if he aimed at you, you would more probably die.
Alice, I guess you have forgiven Farone. What are you and Farone going to do?
Nothing special. I will live normally, just like before.
I will take good care of Alice for Abel. From now on, she is my sister.
What about your father?
I don't know, maybe I will visit him.
How could you earn Alice's trust that easily?
Because I know they sincerely wanted to help me.
Let's not talk about Michelle first. Why were you two so calm? Weren't you scared or lost at all?
We were not calm.
No, we weren't. I was so afraid when we were watching the ceremony and escaping from the town. If no one had stood beside me, I would have been scared to death.
Farsang is the scariest among all things. Even so, we had to stop him.
If you were asking whether the demons are scary or not, I think those abandoned houses we have been to are way scarier.
So what I have been through is the scariest.
Yes.
What about Michelle? Do you think this is scary?
No. I knew that the possibility of dying here without knowing a thing, or going missing in this town is very low. Either I would learn what I wanted to learn and then would die, or I would leave with what I intended to find here.
That's horrible to hear that. Also, how much witchcraft stuff you have brought with you?
When I set off, I thought the magic of omnipotence and omniscience might be related to demons. So I brought a knife, stuff related to demonic magic, stationery, and my note.
Aren't you a foreigner? How did you go through customs with a knife?
My family owns properties in the capital. I took my knife there.
Okay, I see. You are rich?
Before we came here, I knew that this place is related to witches, so I brought everything that is used for mediumship and exorcism. I have not used my mirror, amulet, willowwood block, and incense ashes.
Isn't it heavy to bring that much stuff with you?
I have already get used to it. Sometimes I have to bring more.
Michelle, are you Irientian? You speak Losclaranian well.
Thank you. You can notice that, judging by my family name. When I was small, my father was invited to work in Losclaran for a few years, so my family spent a while here in Losclaran. I started to learn Losclaranian at that time.
Are those things Mr. Farsang said about your uncle true?
Yes, those are true. Every member of our family is more or less doing something related to magic and spells. Some of them went crazy or even died because of it. What happened to my uncle is a more notorious one of its kind. Most of the victims ended up going missing, or dying. No one would even realize that. If I continue on my path, one day, sooner or later, I will also lose someone dear to me, or die, because of those mysterious creatures and truth.
Your uncle must have meant a lot to you.
My parents are professors, busy with work and research. He took care of me for a while when I was small. He taught me a lot of stuff. I know it is a norm for our family, but every time when I think about it, Excuse me.
Stop thinking about that. Let's take a break. Abel and Ferone, what do you like about each other?
I had never thought about that.
Abel lacked a father or elder male figure during childhood. Therefore, he depended heavily on Ferone after knowing him. His dependence slowly developed into affection.
I'm curious. You two had mutual feelings, but you never talked about it. Never thought about expressing your feeling. Oh, the conservative type. Come on, we can't gossip in the main story.
Well, I had never thought about telling him my feelings.
No way.
I had never felt like this before. I couldn't even figure out what kind of feeling that was.
Me, too. I have never thought about this.
It's a shame.
But I know for sure, I have a feeling for Abel, not because he fancied me, or because I have lost him. I like him. The kind and innocent Abel, who had a heart as clear and beautiful as crystal. I was slowly attracted by Abel as we spent time together. I just failed to notice this.
Oh, I'm so glad.
What will Michelle do with that magic book?
Don't worry, we will keep that book well. No one other than our family members can read that book. We will also ensure that our family members do not intend to do harm to others using that book before allowing them to read it.
Sounds professional.
Truly respectable contribution.
None of them realized that Sophie and I went to the basement. Is that because the witch helped us?
Yes, they owe Michelle one, so they provided some help to you. Also, there are CCTVs in the main hall of the mansion. CCTVs have recorded it when Elizabeth took the key. If you had not acted that night, Alba would have known that after watching the recordings and would have taken action. However, the demon would have also changed the recordings, so you would be fine.
Oh, that was very kind of them.
Is there any CCTV in the parlor?
No, as there is nothing important there.
If Fersang had been suspicious of us, why did he allow us to watch the ceremony? We do not seem rich enough to pay him a lot of money.
He wanted Michelle to be part of his network. At the same time, he wanted to persuade you two to become the prophet. But none of you mentioned this, nor approached Albert, so he did not act.
Why didn't Connor ask Fersang for CDs?
Before I do so, I was.
Oh, I see.
Why didn't Alice tell Sophie and Elizabeth anything about me? Then they could have saved me earlier.
At that time, what did you know? What kind of help could you provide?
So everyone can be introduced to Albert, no matter who they are. How many people have been deceived like me?
You only. You arrived at this town just when Albert was finding a capable prophet.
Why didn't he find one from the locals?
Locals who know about the ceremony know the consequences of becoming a prophet. They would not be willing to become the prophet. If the locals worried that they would be captured by Albert, they would disobey Albert. On the other hand, it is easier to persuade outlanders who came alone. And you can use that magic. What a coincidence. Albert made Abel his prophet, only because Abel was way too powerful. After Abel's death, Alba hoped Alice had the same powers, so he captured her. Otherwise, he would not have done anything to the locals.
Given that they have that smoke magic, why didn't they find the ceremony room when the ceremony wasn't being held?
You cannot always use the same trick. If we had not knocked Fersang and other guests out when we saved you, we would not have been able to escape that easily. And apart from this magic, I do not have any other appropriate way to help us escape.
Correct. If Michelle used that magic for a few more times, then servants at the Fersang mansion would get used to it and be prepared, so that they can catch you in the fog.
You have no appropriate way, so you have other ways that is not appropriate, right?
Oh, well, I do not want to do that. That would attract too much attention. Besides, things would become out of control easily if I do that. That is not what we want to do.
Oh, you are talking about that.
You actually haven't forgotten, have you?
I have no idea what you are talking about.
That is.
I will tell you later.
Well, back to the topic then. We were not well prepared. We did not have the key to the ceremony room. We did not have an escape plan. We did not know if there were traps in the mansion. We did so just because we had no other choices.
What if you failed to find the key and the password?
We could ask during the ceremony. On the other hand, Ferone could help with this. He could also let us enter the mansion after the ceremony.
You could have done something with the locals, couldn't you?
That might bring us unwanted consequence and might alert Albert. We had no way to ensure that the locals would help us.
Are there many people who know about the ceremony?
Only a part of the population knows. Most of them are governors, businessmen, and police.
Most of them know nothing about the ceremony, nor the suffering caused to us.
People who watched the ceremony cannot tell the public anything about it. Then how did Fair-sang attract new clients?
People who watched the ceremony can introduce others to Albert, just like Connor. If the new guest brings trouble to Albert, their referee will be in trouble too. This never happened before though.
Because once it happens, it cannot happen for the second time.
Fair-sang can never hold a ceremony. What does the police say about this?
Probably they would say this is a tragedy caused by rich people with sick habits. Media and newspapers might say this is some kind of cult gathering.
Oh, right. How are you going to include this into your essay?
What? This? In my essay?
You lied to us.
No. Yes, I did not come here for my essay, but I do have to write one, and this inspired me. Please believe me, I did not lie to you, except this. I can explain.
That's a little bit too many secrets you are hiding.
Everyone has their own secrets.
Haven't Fair-sang thought about resurrecting Mrs. Fair-sang from the dead, or talking with her?
The price to fully resurrecting someone must be extremely high.
Yes. The demon replied to Albert that he could not afford that. Albert once asked Abel to deliver his messages to Mrs. Fair-sang, and Mrs. Fair-sang always gave the same message to Albert.
Even still, why didn't he stop?
Fair-sang had been holding the ceremony every night. And did anyone notice that he interfered in the ceremony using tricks?
Not every night, it had been held about 3 or 4 times a week. Albert temporarily held the ceremony every night as a compensation for not holding it for a period of time due to Abel's death. The audience noticed what Albert was doing, more or less, but they could not order Albert to do, or not to do something. If you had the chance to watch Albert's CDS, you could see how Abel went crazy, and how the walls were covered by scratches little by little. CDS recorded what Abel had experienced. You can also see how Abel rejected the demon's deal, how Albert forced Abel to perform the ceremony, and how Abel behaved after he lost his sanity. Inside the CD cases, there are notes Albert made about the magic.
Damn Fair-sang. How can he do this to Abel? How dare he make you suffer?
Alice, I am good now, I will no longer suffer.
Because you are already dead.
I exist in another form. That's all, now I can protect you both more than before.
I wish that you are alive, rather.
Why did Albert let Alice go?
Even though Albert can avoid being suspected using all kind of ways, the fact that 2 siblings died within a short period of time still attracts suspicion easily. He did not want to put any more time and effort on this kind of stuff, especially when it is not worth doing so, considering the return Alice could bring to him.
If we failed to save Connor, how long can he survive?
About 2 weeks.
What?
Abel was gifted, that's why he could survive for a long time. You are not powerful in terms of magic. Your soul is not worth a lot to demons. Plus, you had held the ceremony every night. Therefore, you would have to give up your soul very soon. You will lose your sanity and harm yourself, only to avoid contact with the demons. Look at the second half part of side B. That is what people would do after having direct contact with demons for a long period of time. You should be grateful that they were efficient, or your situation would be worse.
The prophet would harm themselves?
I did not realize what I was doing. All I knew was that I did not want to see anything. I truly realized what I had done only after I regained consciousness. So, I tried everything to keep myself sane. I kept recalling your names, the lyrics. Only then, I could reassure myself that I was sane. So, I kept writing those down, even though I still lost my mind often. Please do not blame yourself. Everything about you made me awake. When I was walking towards my demise, your existence once stopped me from doing so.
Next, the journey of creating this story. First of all, the idea of writing this story came from a novel I read before. In the story, people around the main character kept talking a lot about a specific person, to the extent that the main character started to investigate everything about this person out of curiosity. It turned out that this person had died long ago. As the main character knew more about the deceased, they were attracted by the charisma of the deceased and wanted to know more about the deceased. In the end, the main character believed that they knew a lot about the deceased, to the extent that they felt like their soul were linked together. This inspiration developed inside of my head, and became the prototype of this story.
Our story do have similarities to this story.
So the similarity is that the main character is already dead.
Well, that's crude.
Right. That's it. All the events are related to a dead person. A tragedy that cannot be changed no matter what the main characters do. The first scene that came to my mind is the scene where Alice shouts to the main characters, "He has died long ago, why can't you just leave us alone?" Also, it is Alice who has the greatest number of facial expression variation.
Should I be happy about this?
At that time, I watched TRPG replay animations for the first time, which astonished me a lot. I yearned to play with a bunch of friends. So I passionately wrote a TRPG scenario. Only after I finished that, I realized that I have no friends who would play TRPG with me. After putting the scenario away for a while, I thought, why don't I make the scenario into an animation? Once I made the decision, I acted. As I like to start thinking from the settings of the fictional world where the story takes place, I first wrote a simple setting for the world. I referred to a lot of horror novels, dramas, and variety shows as I wrote. Magics and demons are based on research and books I found. I further developed the details so that they match my style.
So, demons and magic actually exist in our world?
There are magic, demons, angels, gods, and monsters. As long as you can find out the correct way of using it, everyone can use magic and special powers. With a simple setting, I started to write the plot. Again, I wrote it passionately and finished it within a month.
That's efficient.
I was too ambitious when I just finished the plot. I wanted to make this story an animation, or a motion comic. Soon after that, I realized that was impossible. There is too much workload. In the end, I can only do a PPT-like video. I then watched tutorials of live 2D animations with enthusiasm, attempting to add live 2D in my videos. However, I failed to understand a thing and there was simply too much to do, so I gave up on live 2D. Listen, I wrote the plot, edited all videos, and drew the illustrations. There are 10 characters in total. 5 of them are main characters who wear different clothes every day. Each of them has variations of facial expression, also variations of bags, coats, and gestures. Some of them even have illustration of fighting and special illustrations. Take Sophie as an example, for sets of clothes, 2 coats, raising up hand, putting down hand gestures, 6 types of eyes, 6 types of mouth shapes. Also, an illustration of fighting, an illustration of being shot. In total, there are over 1,000 illustrations. I also have to do translation of text. It's so overwhelming.
Well, that is the limit of one-man band.
Something off topic. I did not do everything by myself. My brother helped with some background illustrations. Music and sound effects are online free resources, and I got 2 friends to help with proofreading. Thank you again to those who helped me a lot. Without them, there is no way for me to make all these videos.
By the way, you made that many illustrations, but you did not use all of them.
I am the kind of people who get everything ready before actually starting to work. I always think, well, this might be useful. Due to this exact way of thinking, the whole production process was extremely long. Back to the topic, when I wrote the plot, I first dealt with the past. The question I spent the most time to think about is why Abel would be captured by Albert. The original thought was that Abel did not have the desire to live, so was used by Albert. Then I changed it to that Alice sold her brother to Albert.
What?
Then I thought, this is too cruel, let's make something tragic.
Isn't the final version of the story cruel enough?
But in this way you might feel repentant or something like, everything was fine. This tragedy would not have happened if I had done this. I think you too must have felt like this.
Right.
After finishing the story of the past, I started to write the story of the present. In the main story, I used the 3 routes I wrote in the TRPG scenario: the one who watches, the one who is desperate, and the one who seeks truth. The one who watches includes characters who heard about the ceremony and came to Vosaden. They have no special reasons for coming. Sophie and Elizabeth belong to this route.
But we did not do nothing.
That's your choice. The one who is desperate is the character who became desperate due to various reasons. The ceremony has become their last hope. Connor belongs to this route. Lastly, the one who seeks truth.
That's me.
So, Michel wanted to investigate the ceremony from the beginning, but not for his essay?
That is not a topic that should be discussed here. Anyway, first I wrote a simple setting for everyone, and then decided the plot according to your personalities and motivations. As I think about the plot, I always think about 3 questions. What are the characters thinking? What can they do? Out of all the options, what would they choose? Then we come to the creation of characters. Briefly tell us about your personality and ability. Starting from side A. Sophie. Have a look at her illustrations, it took me ages to draw.
An amateurish witch.
Never belittle yourself. You just don't specialize in a certain area. Tell us what you can do.
I can sense the emotions people and objects bear. I can do divination. I can foresee the future. Typical stuff witches can do, but I cannot get a detailed and precise result from my magic. I also need tools when using magic. Therefore, I am not that helpful actually.
No, you are really helpful.
How can that be? Elizabeth always does something I can never do.
The theme of Sophie is witch. She seems melancholy and mysterious. She always takes out strange stuff from her pocket. She always wears clothes in dark color. With a pair of big eyes, it seems that she can see through everything. A witch which resemble a black cat. As described in the story, family education of Sophie brought her special understanding of the world and of faith, and also personality. Her biggest motivation is faith. At the same time, she is not a religious fanatic. You can say she is neutral towards religion, yet obsessed with her faith. With her special understanding of the world, she considers she owns rules, but not rules and moral rules imposed by the society, when she decides what kind of action to be taken. Therefore, she might make choices others might not choose. She can accept extreme measures rather easily. For most of the time, she would not think about breaking the rules or laws. When others take action which is not in line with her rules, or when there is an emergency, she can accept the use of extreme measures immediately. You can see that in the second half of the story.
Sophie, what do you think about the demon who connived at what Albert had done?
Nothing special. That is the demon's own choice. Though, I dislike Farsang's act of harming others using magic.
Then can you bear the fact that demons use their magic to harm human?
Still, that is what demons choose to do. I do not like that, and I do not wish to see that happening. But I can do nothing about it. The world will decide the consequences of every deed we have done.
A very special opinion. Next, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is athletic and agile. She can make up for the shortcomings of Michelle and Sophie.
I used to do long-distance running. Now I am a member of the rock climbing club of the university. I learned how to self-defense.
Her arms and legs are long and slim. The total amount of sport you all did is still less than hers.
University students are so busy nowadays.
Elizabeth is kind, gentle, and attentive to details. Due to things happened during her childhood, she is afraid of witnessing others being harmed. She is also sensitive to negative emotions of others, and these are her motivations. Although she can control her emotions as she grows up, the trauma still haunts her.
So that's why she overreacted like that at that time.
At that moment, she totally lost control. Under normal circumstances, even if someone is going to harm her, she could not fight back, but to stop them from harming others, at most.
I know I cannot control or influence everyone's mind and feelings, but I hope everyone in the world can live well freely.
As I listen, I feel like all three of you have a long story to be told.
True. The past and future of everyone are part of the story. Or I should put it this way, everyone's life is a unique story. A little bit more about the relationship between Elizabeth and Sophie. To me, they are like a black cat and a golden retriever. Right, this is one of the things I like a lot. Having a good relationship with each other, they both affect each other's lives a lot.
I became what I am now because of Sophie. Sophie showed me a world I can never reach. She is so cool when she explains magic stuff to me. Also when she does divinations.
Okay, back to the topic. Both of you take emotions of people as a starting point when you understand things. Elizabeth's put herself in others' shoes, and Sophie reads people's mind to find out the main point.
It is because I can feel the emotions of others. I was just finding the most important part from those emotions. If it hadn't been for Elizabeth, I would not have got that much information, and been trusted by Alice and Ferone.
That is because Sophie could always point out the main point immediately so as to gain their trust. Only then I can persuade them.
Have you ever felt like you are not needed when you go around with them?
What?
Are you the kind of people who cannot read the atmosphere?
I'm okay with that, as long as I can achieve my goals. Besides, they are very nice people, and capable. I do enjoy spending time with them.
That is not expected.
I am interested in Michael's story.
Nothing interesting about me.
Another young master from a privileged family.
Anyway, I would say Michelle is the most special character among the three of you. The first main character I created for this series. Although I created him for another story. The original plan was to make Michelle a special guest in this story, but then I changed it to that he came to Vosaden to investigate the ceremony. Although his motivation now is different from the original setting, his main goal is still to find out the truth about this magic of omnipotence and omniscience. Michelle's background story was clear. He is a member of a family which specialized in occult.
I am surprised to hear that there are other people who have something to do with magic.
Michelle learned magic and related stuff systematically. He is experienced in this field. He never cares about rules made by normal people. He cares only about knowledge and truth. Apart from those things, he is indifferent to most of the world. However, he has good manner, and is polite to others, so that he seems less abnormal than he actually is.
I knew it. The first suggestion he made when he knew the CDS are hidden in a locker was to break the locker and to take the CDS away.
Actually, you can tell the personalities of three of them by referring to the fight in the Faersang mansion.
Please stop saying something like I am a psychopath.
Stop it. Michelle is nice.
Michelle has no bad intention.
Yes. Michelle wants to build up relationships with others as well, but, when compared to his obsession with knowledge, his social needs are rather weak.
Oh right, what else does Michelle know?
He has a tremendous amount of theoretical knowledge and he is highly experienced. However, there is not much he can do.
But what he knows is something most witches and wizards would never hear of.
He summoned a demon.
He is awfully bad at sport, the weakest one among the three of you. And due to his unhealthy eating habits, he is a bit underweight. Elizabeth can run around with Michelle on her back.
Really? Want to give it a try?
No, please don't.
How come he has so many unusual skills?
It is because he learned a lot of things in the field, and because he has experienced cases like this.
Not willing to say any more than that?
I have other stories to tell later. As I said, the past and future of everyone are part of the story. You have been asking a lot of questions, why don't you talk about yourself?
What else can I talk about?
For example, what of kind person you were? You are too melancholy in the main story. He was a random carefree, rich teenager. He had not been through any suffering, so he could treat everyone well. Ferrone was the typical kind of prince you would see in TV dramas. Handsome, talented, and rich. He was famous in school and had a lot of friends.
Just normal friends. When they looked at me, they always looked at things I owned. Although I had one or two good friends, they are nothing when compared to Abel.
That was because you always said something interesting. I cannot help but listen.
Abel, you are too naive.
Abel and Alice have been very nice to me. I was free whenever I hung around with them. I felt like I didn't have to give anything in return, nor pretend to be a certain kind of person. I can express my true feelings and get sincere responses.
A rich teenager who yearned for true friendship. Typical problem of rich boys. However, after his mother and Abel's death, Ferrone has grown up all in a sudden. If you meet him later in other stories, you can only meet a mature, quiet, and depressed Mr. Ferrone Faersang.
In the end, did Ferrone use that magic?
It is Ferrone who makes the decision.
I don't know.
Think before you act.
In the beginning I did not mean to add such a character in the story. Then I thought about the title, and thought, who is going to sing for who? Then I started to design a character. That is you. There are overlapping parts between you and Alice, but you have your own special role. You witnessed part of the story, and you can help other main characters with their investigation. At the same time, you are Albert's motivation. It would be boring if he did everything for just money. By the way, as you are Albert's son, you two look alike. Big nose, tall, red hair, green eyes.
I cannot imagine how Ferrone would look like when he gets old. He must look the same as Faersang.
I am not becoming a copy of him.
Let's talk about the Anose siblings next.
After my sister.
Someone who lost a lot of precious things.
Yes, someone who lost their precious. You are the first character who has a clear figure in my head. Tired, sad, angry, you are the accumulation of negative emotions.
I have no energy to treat anyone well. Life did not treat me well anyway.
You bear the unbearable, and you are always on the edge of breaking down. I hope things happening afterwards will make you feel better. Of course, the scars in your heart will never heal completely.
Now I cannot stay in the dark. I need to leave a light on even when I am sleeping.
Sorry, things would not have been like that if I had stayed.
Alice witnessed the past, and needs to provide information to the main characters. If the main characters can gain Alice's trust, they can ask Alice for help. She will help, no matter how difficult it is. Whether she can actually help or not is another story. Although I changed Alice's personality for a few times, in the end I used the first design, an image of a victim. After finishing the story, I gave another power to Alice. Now her intuition is very good. This might be useful at some unexpected moments in the future. And then Abel.
Aha, the one who is already dead.
Wow, he is so calm about his own death.
Must Abel die?
Of course, look at his name.
It's okay, Pharaoh. See, I'm now standing in front of you.
But you are dead.
And the fact that he is dead will not change. After this video, you will not remember a thing happened during this video. So, make good use of your time. To me, Abel had been a cute little sheep.
Bah.
He was kind-hearted and had good manners. A kid as good as an angel.
Our parents told us to be so, especially when I was different from others. If I was selfish, I would do bad things using my power, and I would not help you, Pharaoh.
Then I wish you would be a selfish one.
Abel had the strongest magical power in the series. No one will have a power stronger than Abel in later stories.
It's strange to say, series, when you have only one story.
There is a lot in my brain. Abel could see ghosts and understand the language of monsters. He was the kind of kids who played with friends other people could not see. He saw and understood the world differently. As I thought about the whole story, I spent some time thinking about the relationship between the three of you, and things happened during your childhood. Things like, going for a picnic, Pharaoh waking Abel up in the middle of the night only to stargaze, or celebrating Christmas together. This is my favorite. You guys enjoyed your quiet time outside. Alice was reading a book, Pharaoh was practicing guitar, and Abel was sitting beside, watching. Ordinary, tranquil, and happy days.
That was the happiest days in my life. I didn't have to worry about money, or conspiracies of others.
Even after my parents' death, I could still live a happy life, as long as I could fully enjoy my life and see those who are dear to me.
As simple as they seem, after your death, I can no longer live happily.
I'm sorry, I couldn't make it. I could only pray that you could live well.
I will.
Me too.
Good to hear that.
If nothing happened, Pharaoh would become a famous artist, and Abel would be his assistant. Alice would be a normal clerk working with words, maybe an editor, or a journalist.
That would be nice.
I will create the life you desire.
Alice will live happily for sure.
I always question myself, is it too bad to kill such a good kid?
Then why did you kill him? Why couldn't the others come and save him earlier?
But then I think, this story could leave a strong impression to readers only because of the tragedy it contains. I want everyone to feel the same sadness as me.
Can you come back and visit them?
Of course, as long as my master does not summon me, I can go wherever I want. So, I can stay with them.
Oh.
Is this how it feels to keep a cat who likes wandering around on the street?
The last one, Connor.
Judging from the sequence, I knew I am nobody.
Haha. Connor is a desperate one who knew nothing. He has no special power, nor additional information. He needs to deliver messages to other characters. This is the only reason for his existence.
You gave me up from the beginning, didn't you?
No, I spent time thinking about your past, but in the end I did not include that in the final version of the story. You had a close friend who was diagnosed with depression. Your friend called you in the middle of the night. You failed to notice what's wrong with him and you missed the only chance to save him. Since then you use your best effort to help other. My original design was that, after meeting you for the first time, Pharaoh or other characters asks you to deliver useful information to them. Out of the guilt that haunted you for years, you decided to help. I gave this idea up as if you had too much contact with other characters, Albert would do something to them. But it's okay. You have already delivered the most useful message. I once thought you should be an extremely selfish one, but I gave that up too. In the end, you are just an ordinary man, naive, selfish, and careless.
I knew I am nobody.
Now, what ifs and unused ideas? We can start with some good
What if?
What if Abel had not died?
Sure. Soon after Abel started holding the ceremony, the main characters arrived at Vosaden. After watching such a strange ceremony, the main characters started to investigate the truth behind.
As soon as you tell me about this, I will kill Farsang immediately.
I would have stopped him if I had known about this earlier.
We would have soon known how the ceremony affected the prophet and realized Farsang's lies. Then we would have tried to stop him.
Then nothing would have happened to me.
Right. The whole thing could be solved smoothly.
Then why didn't you do that?
It is not interesting in that way, is it? Another idea: after Ferone was forced to leave the town, the main characters arrived. Then, the main characters could only contact Ferone for information, but Ferone could not help them.
Well, we still got Alice.
Then you have less people to fight with you.
We will never know if we don't try. Can we do it again from the very beginning? Can you reverse time?
Forget it. If you failed to save Connor within 2 weeks, Connor would probably die.
As you mentioned before.
Then, Albert would see other people outside the town as a target and would persuade them to hold the ceremony.
We would not listen to him.
Then you would be kidnapped.
Right. And I have thought about what if, after saving Connor, all of you were captured by Albert. Albert would force everyone except Ferone to hold the ceremony. He would tie Ferone up and force him to watch.
Sure, he would certainly do that. He would not kill me, but would torture me like that.
Well, I would certainly see the demons.
I should be alright.
I thought Michelle and Sophie would hear the biggest desire of Ferone. Then they would answer things like, he did not loathe you, and he does not want you to hate yourself, so you do not need to feel guilty or apologize.
Well, that's something I would say, haha. Did I hurt you that much?
It is not your fault. But I can't forget this sorrow. From the moment I heard about your death on the train, I was too guilty to fall asleep, and to clear my mind. I felt like my body was dead. Only until I came back, I was woken by hatred.
I once thought about, what if Ferone held the ceremony? However, what Ferone wants to know is too obvious. It is boring to keep repeating it. The demon might think that having business with you is interesting, so it would make another offer, saying like, do you want to see him again, or to own him? An offer from a demon, isn't it?
That's really an offer I cannot refuse. Truly tempting.
What if we brought Alice with us?
Albert would say something bad about Alice, like Alice had been lying to you. If you insisted on bringing her with you, Albert would turf all of you out.
He knew that they contacted me from the very beginning, didn't he?
He had been watching you, but he sent people who had been spying on you, to spy on Connor. So he did not know that the trio had approached you. I thought about what if Alice could communicate with ghosts. If Alice could do that, Albert would not let Alice go, then nothing would happen to Connor. The trio would not know the truth from you, neither. You have to tell the whole story, for the sake of your brother.
It is a good thing that Alice, you did not hold the ceremony and face those things. If I had not died that early, Connor would not have suffered that much.
Then we move on to the reflection part. After writing the story, I realized a few bad things about the plot and started to review the plot for several times. However, as long as I kept reviewing the plot would never be finished. So I decided to stop writing at a point of time, and then to do better next time after reflecting on this project. The conclusion is the videos only revealed roughly 50% of the full story.
Less than 50%, it seems.
There are mainly two reasons for that. First, setting of the story and the atmosphere prevented more information to be revealed, and, second, the plot is badly written. Considering the setting of this fictional world on which the story is based, I think human must not know some facts. For example, things we have just mentioned, including things happened in the ceremony, detailed information about the demons, things happened to Abel. Human's perspective is limited, and human has little understanding about mysteries. So, I cannot explain the whole truth using only the perspective of human. Also, mysteries in this story are often related to settings of the fictional world. To make everything clear, many things need to be explained in detail. If I did this, the story would be cumbersome, confusing, and extremely burdened with unnecessary details. Side stories, including things happened between Ferone and Abel, Mr. and Mrs. Farsang, are romance stories that are too light-hearted to be added into the main story. They would ruin the serious atmosphere of the main story. Besides, information about magic and detailed side stories about characters does not help much with the development of the story. Writing those things in detail would be a digression from the main theme. However, lack of explanation of the mysteries makes some events in the plot confusing, like things happened in the ceremony. I am still thinking a reasonable way to explain all the mysteries, while keeping a sense of mystery and not disturbing the development of the story at the same time. As for the development of the story, events of the story are mainly divided into 3 categories: things you should know, things you will know if you think more, and things you should not know. The first category is the main story, core of the story. The second category includes details that do not help much with developing the plot, but instead make the story more complex. The third category includes extra information about magic, setting of the world, and characters. The current problem is not all details that are supposed to be shown are present, although the main story is completed. This makes the plot boring, and lack persuasiveness. Many details are missing, like content of the CDS and Albert's motivation. I prepared them, but failed to find somewhere to place them. This problem is more obvious in Side B. Considering Connor's personality, he would inevitably contact Alice. And this would cause him to be captured by Albert. As a result, he missed a lot of information. Talking about this, I now think Side B should not only include Connor's perspective, but also Albert and Ferone's perspectives. This would have made the story richer. Apart from the problems of the plot, presentation of the story is immature. This is my first time using video as a genre to tell a story. I failed to make full use of the format due to lack of experience. Especially, I failed to achieve a balance between words and images. Sometimes I could have used images to express something, such as an action or a place, but I just, habitually, used words to tell. For this, there are redundant texts. At the same time, I worried, if I used images to express things, would audience who just listen to the audio understand? Writing skills and drawing skills are also a big problem. I started to write the script in January 2022, uploaded the first episode in January 2023, and uploaded the last episode in the end of 2023. 2 years have passed. Now I can just see how bad I wrote and drew in the past when I look back. I did not do well in translation as well. Here, once again thank you all my friends who tolerated me a lot and helped me with proofreading. There are a lot of problems with video editing. I have never used Premiere Pro before, so I had been watching online tutorial videos while making this Grave series. I lacked skills and worked inefficiently. The outcome is also boring. Then problem with tools. First, I used Note-Vibes for the voiceover. Although there are different voices for English, there are limited number of voices for other languages. Especially for Japanese, only 2 male voices and 2 female voices. I could only change the tone of the voices to distinguish among characters. This, in a way, increased my workload. Also, I want to mention this as well. There were a lot of bugs in the Japanese soundtrack that I had to make many corrections afterwards. For example, Note-Vibes always pronounced it as. There is another problem that I failed to understand even now. There is no problem with the soundtrack file. However, when it was imported into PR, the whole soundtrack would just keep repeating a few lines and fail to play the whole soundtrack. I am not sure if it is a bug, but it costed me a lot of time to solve it anyway. Then, BGM. All I used was free music found online. Although there are a lot of free music, to keep a consistent style, I decided to allocate a certain song to a certain scenario or a certain situation. Yes, I then have a consistent style. However, thinking about it now, using the same BGM in the same scene bores people, especially when that BGM is repeated for a long time. I will spend more time finding different music and in thinking how to arrange music in a more appropriate way. Lastly, when I made this Grave series, I had been using a second-hand laptop computer, which was slow, and froze easily. I might sound like I was not taking responsibility, but, if I had been able to use a better computer, I would have worked at least 30% more efficiently. Now, as I have a new computer, things should be better and more efficient. After 2 years of experience and learning, I hope I can make a finer story next time. I am going to talk about my plan in the future. I made a video talking about this in detail, so this part is a short, simple version. If you are interested, please take a look at that video. I mainly work on 3 things: novels, videos, and website. Then, I draw if I have time. For novels, I will focus on 2 stories. I want to finish the short story, the 3rd story in my journey, from the Till the End of the World series. At the same time, I want to remake a story I have done before, the long novel Mr. Ferocious and Mr. Hound, from the Hanmakai series. As for videos, I will start working on the plot and text of the next story, Lacking. Being related to the Grave series, this story happened in summer, 1999.
Oh.
Yes, exactly, that case you have just closed. The last thing, the website. Now I will focus on finishing all the details of all fictional worlds and the introductions of all stories. Then I will write the introduction of each character. I will make animations if I have time. This should be the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you again to all my friends who have helped me on the journey. Thank you to all the audience and to everyone who responded to this series. Thank you for your support. With that, I can continue with the creation of my fictional worlds and my characters. Thank you very much. See you again in the next story.